What would you do if you were given an open credit line and encouraged even to spend to the limits of that credit line? Well, guess what? We were. Find out exactly what happened. Go behind the scenes with us on our journey over the last couple of weeks.
Welcome everyone to the Prof Sales YouTube channel. I am Prof Sales.
And I'm Kaaren, Just Ask Kaaren.
And we are glad you're here. This channel we talk about reselling on e-commerce platforms like eBay and Amazon, and also being an entrepreneur, being in business for yourself, and creating a positive little corner of the internet. And it has been way long since we've been on.
So long that we've forgotten how to even set this up. Apparently.
I was surprised. I had forgotten what YouTube even was. But hey, we're back.
We are, and apparently we know how to push buttons and get back on the tube of you again. So there you go.
So for you guys who are watching right now live, there's a live chat going on. If you want to ask questions or make a comment, feel free to do so. And for those of you watching afterwards, also feel free to do so. And check out the description below this video for all kinds of helpful links on the stuff we use in our business. I thought you were going to say something.
Indeed. So hello. We have been very busy people and missed you people very, 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 very much. And so it's going to come across probably like we are flying by the seat of our pants, but we figured something was better than nothing at this point. And thank you for all of the kind messages, wondering if something terrible had happened to us, why we had gone away. And our easiest explanation for that is that sometimes we just got to work, you know, and we kind of worked to our limits, like
our limits.
our capacity, right? We've been working really, really hard on a lot of things, and we can't wait to share it, right?
Yeah, this is, I mean, we've actually agonized over how to share all this, believe it or not, because it's been a really crazy it's actually kind of been a crazy month, 30 days for us. But last week and the week before that, we went off on a journey.
Yes, we did.
Is that the right word, a journey?
An odyssey. I called it an odyssey when I first started writing about it, right?
Oh, yeah.
It is truly an odyssey. And we are going to share as much of that odyssey with you as possible. And I think part of why we didn't, well, besides the fact we were working literally 14-hour day. I just went.
Parks and Rec reference.
And there, I got a Leslie Knope reference for you for later too. But we had just come off of, you know, our trip to Austin, where we spoke at the Green Room event and shared an amazing week with those amazing people. Then we had some kind of personal stuff happen, some heavy personal family stuff, and we also have some kind of heavy house stuff, like our walls are bleeding. No, really, water is coming down the walls. Like, yes. And if I could show you pictures, I would right now, but that's been over a month of, can we just get it fixed, rental company?
I know, right?
And it's been like agonizing. Like if we even, like that would be a show all by itself. But we finally had a moment to breathe. So I put my little, they're ice creams. They're not poops.
They're poop.
No, they're not poops. But this is a real hint as to how we spent those 2 weeks of concentrated labor of love. But I could not do the show without my poops. I mean, my ice creams on my head. So
yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, it's definitely been a crazy fun time, and we could tell you a lot about it, but it's probably better if we just show you, because there's been some changes.
Yeah, there have been like some major changes. So for those of you that don't know, we have had a bit of warehouse space where we were selling some consignment items on eBay and Amazon, some of our own items as well. We had a beautiful, and stay with me, I'm using some of these words purposefully in past tense. We had a beautiful photo area.
Right.
And we're gonna, you know what, why don't we just stop talking about it?
Let's stop talking. You guys want to see a tour? You want to see what the warehouse looks like now? Because you're not going to recognize it.
You're just not going to believe it. And we should give them a hint. Like there's one like mega hint. If you can figure out from this photographic hint where we've been for the last 2 weeks, you get a bonus point.
All right.
A gold star or something.
All right, so let's do this. We're going on a tour. We're going to try to keep us
3-hour tour.
We're going to try to keep us both in the shot. But first of all, we need to stop and say hello to a good friend. Oh, who is this again?
Who can guess? If you guess, you get 5 bonus points.
If you guess, you get 5 bonus points, right?
Oh, his hand is in not a good place.
Okay, so anyway.
If anybody guessed?
Well, it takes like 30 seconds for this to go through.
Oh, okay.
So there you go. But anyway, let's move forward. All right, so we're going to go into the warehouse and kind of show you guys.
You said I had to stay in the shot, so I'm not just going to be like, whoa.
Yeah, Kelly says, I don't know, but he's adorable. All right, so
I'm just talking about you.
It's very warm in here, by the way. So if we collapse from heat stroke, call 911.
The lighting is great, though.
So first of all, we're going to show you what used to be my desk area, which now
it's not a desk.
Is no longer a desk area. As you can see, there are racks and racks of just stuff. They're not death piles. Trust me. Oh, somebody got it right. Mr. Funko. Yep.
Freddy Funko.
Mr. Funko.
So look, much to my lament, this is my new shipping area. Like it's this, Hank, it's this big.
Yeah, it's tiny. And Kaaren fusses every time we have to ship something now.
Yeah, fuss is a good word. You don't want to be anywhere near me.
So let's look at some more area that this used to be where our photos were and Karen's desk. As you can see, they have now evolved and they've got a few things there. There is no more desk. There is no more photo area. No. Gone. No room for them at all.
And so when we were first walking through to make sure that we wouldn't trip over something and doing this future walkthrough, like show them. So this is Jamie and Gary, the mannequins that we use for our clothing photos for eBay. This is a perfect metaphor of what's now happened to our lives. You see how they're condensed into this one very small area? This is now what has become of the PROF Sales Kaaren warehouse extravaganza.
Yes, and let's show you the previously somewhat empty 330 square foot dock area. It is not empty at all. I don't even know how many boxes are right there, but I can tell you I had a hand in packing or stacking all of them. And how many pallets and boxes are there, I don't even know what to tell you. So at a massive amount. So the dock area, and this area is about 300 square feet, now just has about a 6-foot strip where we have our pallet jacks. And one last area. Oh, what were you going to say something?
Oh, well, we were going to walk all the way down because we have some
yes. We gained some equipment.
So check it.
The most important part about getting new items is always try to get new equipment.
So look what this is. This is the coolest thing. This is my personal win. Like this right here. Oh,
dock ramp.
Is a dock ramp. Oh, bonus. Love it.
Which helps tremendously when you're unloading pallets.
Yes. Note to self, indeed. Oh, and then we stole this. Right here, this one next.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So
picked up a 2-wheeler.
Yeah, so they can't see the wheels. How do they know it's a 2-wheeler?
Well, they can guess.
And then this is Jason's favorite. Look.
Pallet jack for the win. Oh, but there's one more area we have to show you. You probably remember where the jeans and the shoes were. The shoes have come back home because they had to. And the jeans, they're over there somewhere.
Well, here, you can kind of see the jeans. Come on.
I promise. Well, wait, I'm trying to show this whole area. So the jeans are over there, along with a lot of other stuff.
You can kind of see them right here.
Oh, yeah. You can kind of see them. Yeah, there's a few jeans there. So, yeah, there's a few jeans there. The jeans are still there. I promise you. They're in containers, but they have been moved.
Oh, there's 2 other things. We got mini packers.
Oh, yes. Yes, mini packers for the win. So you know what a mini packer is. If you've ever bought the air bubble wrap, the little air bubbles, air packing.
It packs minis.
Yep, one there and one there.
You want to buy a mini packer?
Someone says pallet jacks are fun to ride on. Kelly said, that's true.
Kelly, can I tell you? Guess who jumped on it and rode it the first thing out the store? This girl right here.
Yes. So.
Okay, it's really hot.
It's very hot. We're going to have to go back to the other room. So that's the end of the warehouse tour for now. Okay, it's like 90 degrees in this warehouse.
No, it's not 90, but we don't need to be out there right now.
Yes. So we're going to take you back to here, and we're going to talk about exactly what we did. And that was the tour.
And it wasn't even a 3-hour tour.
It wasn't a 3-hour tour. So I might need to adjust the shot here a little.
No, I have this glow. I kind of like it.
All right, so we should talk probably about how all that came to be.
You want to take a drink? Everybody, have some water.
Everybody have a drink. Every time
Drink more water. Every time Jason says toys.
So, all right. So how to tell this story. And this is the power, I think, of connections and the power of networking and making friends and groups and things like that. So a business connection of ours, I guess that's the right word.
Oh, yes. So we're going to use code names for the two fellas, the two primaries, right? Who will be known henceforth as Papa Bear and Mr. Bling Bling.
I did not choose those names. I have nothing to do with those.
Yeah. We might use their real names somewhere down the line.
Call them like Mr. Pink and Mr. White and Mr. Blue. And what was all the ones from Reservoir Dogs? Can't remember.
Oh, I thought you were going the game Clue.
No, Reservoir Dogs. Come on.
Like I'm the movie person in this relationship. But at some point we'll use real names, but they made a joke about code names. So
all right, moving forward.
Okay, we'll move forward.
I thought you were going to continue.
No, so we're
so rusty at this.
Yeah, we really are. So the backstory is these are friends, acquaintances, business partners of ours.
Yeah.
That said, hey, what are you doing in such and such?
What are you doing with all that warehouse space? What are you doing during these 2 weeks? And
famous last words. So somebody probably, hey, Hank, I didn't see you. Thank you for coming to the party today. And probably most of you guessed if you saw some of the bags in there with the little giraffe heads. I can't even read the comments, so I don't know if anybody saw this. But we were invited, that's an interesting term, to join the Toys R Us closing extravaganza.
Yeah, the Toys R Us was one of the biggest retailers to be liquidated. In the United States, in the history of the United States. And a lot of people who sell online made a lot of money sourcing Toys R Us. And these two particular people were no different and realized that this represented a unique opportunity to go and get all this merchandise heavily marked down. But it required a big effort to do it because it's a lot of merchandise. As you just saw, part of what we got. That's not even all of it. Like that's what we did, but it's not all of what they did all over the nation. So we were invited to be part of this, and we were going to, put in our time and energy and our warehouse space in return for, obviously some compensation on the back end for a lot of this. And we had to become shoppers first and students second. And that was kind of a change of mindset for me. A little bit.
Oh, sure. And somebody already said in the comments that they're like, man, that's a lot of listing. And then someone else said, no, it's not. It's Amazon FBA. Make no mistake, as we go through and share some of the numbers with you, it's a lot of listing. Crazy.
I don't want to tell you how many thousands. Well, actually, we will tell you later.
So, it wouldn't be Prof Sales if we didn't have a spreadsheet, numbers, and formulas.
That's true. That's true.
So here we are. We were invited, and we really this is the first time we've been a part of something this large scale. I don't know. I considered it to be we were part of history. Like, when was the last time something big, just part of America, like something so ingrained as Toys R Us, went away forever. And it became bittersweet and most poignant for me. We actually started out our journey, our escapade of toys, at the Toys R Us where I went to when my son was a baby, and the Toys R Us that I went to as he grew up. And at some point when we were going back and forth with that location, it hit me that they're just a staple. Like, they're part of our lives as he grew up. Toys R Us is something else, right?
Absolutely.
So it was a special thing for us. Like, we totally felt, and maybe it's just the little kid in me, or it's just my Kaaren factor, whatever, but it was really cool. Like, we were part of this collective group where we were part of several teams across the country that visited all these Toys R Us's, like in unison, and we communicated, and we'll kind of share that with you how that went too. But it was pretty cool.
So a typical day in this had a very predictable pattern, although it had to change repeatedly because These stores sold down in various degrees and got resupplied with what they call augmented items, which is where the liquidator brings in like items they think will sell there during the liquidation.
Mm-hmm.
And that really changed the plan on some days for some stores. But the plan was, I put on here that the plan, a typical day was pretty elaborate, but I guess it really wasn't that elaborate. It just seemed in the moment. But there was a plan about where we were going to go. And we drove out all over the 2 Carolinas, North and South Carolina.
The plan was to go, actually, we could have gone Georgia, South Carolina, into Virginia, etc. But we found enough inventory and stock here that we pretty much stayed within the Carolinas. So
yeah, we rented a big, huge truck, or rather, these 2 particular individuals did. We didn't actually rent the truck. Kaaren drove the truck, and there are photos of her. I don't know if I should show that one.
I'm totally gonna make an ode to Jeffrey video. Like, I think I'm just going to post it on the channel. We took pictures, and much to the chagrin of Mr. Bling Bling, but I was snapping selfies all along the way.
This is Kaaren in the truck. You can see the huge picture there of her in the truck. It was a big 26-foot Penske truck, which if you ever driven one of those, they are monstrous.
No joke. Air brakes and air horn. I loved it.
Yeah. And then we decided on where we were going, like what cities we were going to, and we would go there first. We would try to get there right as the store opened, which was usually 10 o'clock. And then we would just go at it. We would start pulling shopping cart after shopping cart after shopping cart after shopping cart.
What did you call it? You called it a cart something, a cart extravaganza, a cart Congo?
Yeah, Cart City.
Cart City, yeah. So the 3 of us would each grab 2 carts and just go. And some of it was pulling SKUs as we went. But we had a shopping list, if you will, that we would carry with us from location to location. So there were certain items that we were looking for, but depending upon the markdowns for that day, that also steered which direction we went as well.
And when we hit an item that was on the list and met the criteria, we took all of them. And that created some interesting situations with people shopping in the stores.
How many times did someone try to take my stuff?
Okay, true story. I grabbed this one toy, and there was probably about 30 of them on the shelf, and it met the criteria, so I swiped all of them, took all of them, all 30 of them, put in my cart. This lady comes by and sees them in my cart, and she goes, "Oh, those are so cool. Where are those at?" And I meekly pointed to where they had been. Not even, it just, like, I was in such a zone, I wasn't really thinking about it. I was like, just hand her a stupid toy, you know, but I didn't, and I feel so bad. That's bad karma. Don't do that.
So before you end up looking like the Grinch here.
I do. I feel like the Grinch. Some kid is not getting that toy.
No, so we weren't like these toy curmudgeons. Like, we didn't just kind of swoop in. Like, there were several occasions towards the beginning. Towards the end, maybe not so much. But towards the beginning, if somebody wanted a toy, especially a child, let's be clear, we gladly gave the little person a toy. And sometimes even stood there for way too long while they decided if they really wanted it or not.
And thank you, Joseph, for the super chat. Thank you very much. $5. That was very kind of you. We really appreciate it.
Yes. Thank you so much, Joseph.
And we started shopping through these stores with tons and tons of carts, and we started filling up carts and just making this cart, like up front where there's usually at the service desk, we just took it over. Like I don't know what the max number of carts we had in a store was, but it was probably around 20. Full of just crazy amounts of stuff.
But a lot of times they would let us cart corral, so we were able to fill and still shop.
So once the items were purchased, we would bring boxes. The boxes you saw in the warehouse, we brought those into the store, taped them up right at the end of the cash registers, and just started filling them, and then put them. They had these carts called U-boats, and we put them right on the truck, and that was how we did it. And it was insane. We would spend like 3 hours in a store. That was not that uncommon.
Right. And we had we brought supplies. So we brought boxes on purpose so that we could literally put it from the cash register into boxes. It made sense on the other end as well in stocking and inventorying the stuff here back at the warehouse. But it also, because we had an empty in the beginning, but a 26-foot truck, we had to get that stuff in there securely because while I am an excellent driver, you never know. So you want to make sure nothing's going to fall and break.
So Adam says, did you have a company credit card? I'm assuming you didn't use your funds. You're correct, Adam. These were not our funds.
Not our money.
Our client is obviously a much larger Amazon seller.
Hence the name, Mr. Bling Bling.
Mr. Bling Bling.
Papa Bear.
And they were buying obviously in bulk and had lines of credit and things like that. But we did just do some damage on some credit cards.
Yes.
One of which seemed to have no limit, which was pretty funny to do. We just kept spending money on it. I'm like, this thing is never going to run out of money. It's infinite. But that was pretty funny. That became a running joke. Like, are they ever going to bat an eye at this?
Hey, you did keep that card, right?
All right. So we chased the discounts the markdowns they had. And the stores had different markdown amounts. That was interesting. What was 80% at one store may have only been 60 at another. So that was kind of interesting. It wasn't like this item was always good in every store. Sometimes that 10 or 20% made just enough difference to turn it from a good item to a bad item or vice versa.
All right. And Mark, hold on to that question because we are going to address what happens to all that stuff as we go, as far as, getting it out the door.
Yeah, Red Neckerson, thank you so much for the $1.77. I have missed that number in that super chat.
You have no idea. So was that pretty much a typical day?
Yeah, absolutely. And we just focused on filling the truck, which we did. We filled ours basically twice.
Like full.
I will say, if you've never tried to fill a 26-foot truck, it's an experience. That's a big truck to fill. So it takes a lot.
Yeah, and what's interesting is, and we joke about it, but the number, $100,000, that number was dropped at the beginning of the time that we spent together. And I was a little disappointed that we didn't spend it. She's
upset at only 70,000.
I know that sounds crazy, but it got harder and harder to reach that goal because as the discounts got greater, we were able to buy more stuff, but then we weren't spending as much money.
Yeah.
And I don't mean to come across, this is a special opportunity, and we're so grateful for it. So I don't mean to come across, but that's where our heads were at.
We did not put our store on vacation mode. We still ship things because of the logistics of it, the way it worked out. We were still able to do that. We were not able to source books during that time. That was impossible. Because the length of the days was insane a couple times.
Yeah.
There was one day, I think it was Friday a week ago. I think we worked 15 hours that day. It was pretty insane. And I'm pretty sure we worked from 8 a.m. and we literally did not get in the bed till 1 a.m. It was an insane day.
Yeah, that was a long day.
And I was just like, and we had to be up the next morning to do another day. So there was definitely some really long days with lots of miles we drove. We'll talk about some of the numbers here in a little bit, but it was crazy.
What was interesting is Mr. Bling Bling told us in the very beginning that the moment would come because he's experienced these sort of, I don't know, what do you call it? These events before where you're on all the time, right? This sort of special buying opportunity, we'll call it.
Right.
And he was good and quick to point out that at some point we're, gonna probably clash, or there's gonna be conflict, or maybe you're gonna get on my nerves, or I'm gonna get on. And I'll say that there was one barely that moment, but the three of us, I don't know, maybe it's just because it was the three of us, but we got along famously.
And we spent a lot of time together.
And we spent, more time than we spend even with each other. It was concentrated time with each other.
Oh, yeah.
Sweaty, grumpy, physical labor-y kind of.
Yeah, one time it started raining on us as we were loading. Mm-hmm. That was kind of interesting.
That was probably the worst moment.
Yeah, it started raining. And it rained pretty hard at one point. We fortunately didn't really get – a couple things got wet, but for the most part, we saved everything.
Yeah. We didn't lose anything.
Do we want to talk about what we learned? If so, I want to do that one when we do it.
Yeah, well, you can start out that way. So in true PROF Sales channel YouTube form, we want to share with you some things. Almost immediately, we started formulating this list of things that we learned. And we started learning right out of the gate. Fair to say, right? And you wanted to start with a biggie. What was the most profound thing that you learned that still sticks with you to this day?
So was that who I was with, or?
Oh, so we were with this person.
Okay. So Mr. Bling Bling and I were in the car, and that sounds awful.
I got you to say
in every sense of the word, and I so apologize to you. And we were driving to the next store, and I don't remember what day it was, but I was talking about, and I could do this, and we're going to do this. And I was talking about all these ways to save money in business, in my personal life, in our relationship, what we were doing. And he was just listening and nodding and so on. It's like, yeah. And then he said something to me that hit me so hard, and it was so profound. It like sat there and just simmered in my brain for like a day. And he said, you know what? There was a real change of mindset when I stopped worrying about so much what things cost and started worrying about how to become more abundant and grow my business and how to bring in more. And I didn't have to worry about this subscription or this lease payment or this employee's salary. And I just thought, I'm just going to grow the pie bigger and bigger and make more. And I realized at that moment, or maybe a little time afterwards, I realized, man, I lost sight of that. Like I lost sight of the fact that you can only reduce your expenses and your expenditures down to zero. You can't go below that. That's it. You can't get any lower. And you really can't even do that because you need certain things. You have to live and survive. But you can grow the pie, your business, as big as you want to grow it, as big as you want. So instead of always focusing on save money, how about grow revenue, grow revenue, grow revenue? Mm-hmm. And that was just like, man, I had so lost sight of that. I was so thankful for that nugget.
And already so much has changed in our lives, both personal and business, because we're now approaching everything. And we kind of rib each other a little bit, but everything is with an abundance mindset now. And it's made like a world of difference, has it not?
Absolutely.
Some things have come up personally, and instead of, and I don't want to say the one thing, but my response to you was,
is that,
look at it like in an abundance mindset. Can you help them? And this is how you have to look at it. So we're very grateful for that, because that's made a world of difference already.
Yeah, don't lose sight of that. It's important.
So we're definitely, another thing that we learned or confirmed in our heads is that we're definitely not looking to become someone else's employee. And what's funny is that we both in separate conversations said that exact thing to Mr. Bling Bling. And it was kind of funny to me that it wasn't scripted, it was whatever, but here were these two separate moments. Like, we love you and all, but we don't want to work for you. And we didn't mean it, and he knows we didn't mean it that way. But for an instant, for a hot second, which was that 10-day period, we were. And we knew that we were going to be, part of a team. And we were an employee, if you think about it.
Yeah, for a contractor at least, yeah.
Right. But that's not the end game for us. So we knew that that's not where we wanted to be.
Do you want to do that one? Because I can't remember exactly what.
What, number 3?
Yeah.
Oh, go vertical. Like, we have to stack the things, right? Like
in our space. This is like tactics.
Yeah. So one of the reasons the space is working, you can say it's working like it is that we had to get creative. And part of getting creative was we did have to bring some things home. We did have to rearrange. We did have to shrink my shipping department. But if we hadn't have done that, then we couldn't have taken the inventory. And there's actually more room in there. It kind of looks like there isn't. But the cool thing about
there ain't much.
There's some more stuff.
Trust me.
We can fit some more
stuff.
Nope.
Don't need it.
But it finally looks like a warehouse, right? And in a warehouse, I guess in a perfect world, you'd have pallet racks and things like that. But you can only go up, right? Just like this business, we can only go up. So we learned that we can do it. And it's an effective use of the space for sure.
Using other people's money to source your items is great. And I know I say that kind of jokingly, but I also say it seriously because, we had a lot of discussions around credit and how to buy things for your business and how to just scale. And one of the problems we run into in the reselling community, and we've run into it, is you spend money, you buy some things, you sell some things don't sell. And all of a sudden you're stuck in a cash crunch. you're not bringing enough to really grow your business any further. So sometimes looking for an outside source makes a lot of sense. And in this case, we learned a lot about that just because we were not on the hook for all this capital to buy this inventory, but we also got to kind of hear the mindset behind it and the structure behind it from someone who's been doing it for a while and has been successful at it.
Well, and you know what's interesting about what you just said? I kind of joked earlier about, oh, we had all this money to spend. And this is what's striking to me. Like, even though we had this seemingly, and they'll laugh about this, right? Like this seemingly bottomless pit of money. Make no mistake, we treated this money and these items like kind of to the extreme as if it was our own.
For sure.
Like I have completely, maybe more so than he's used to, but I mother this stuff. Like it's mine. I instantly felt responsible for it. Possession is 9/10. You know, I mad respect that you paid for it. But now I'm in charge of it. And I take that so seriously, it's not even funny. And we joked about spending all that money, but it's hard to spend money.
Yeah, sure.
Like it really, really is, right?
All right. So do you want to do that?
Of course I want to do that one. So we also, I learned that I can drive a big old truck.
She can.
And I'm really, really good at it.
She drove it in the rain. She drove it in the wind. She drove it on the interstate. She drove it on the back road. She drove it in tiny little gas stations. She drove it in big parking lots, you name it.
And so me and Mr. Bling Bling got to talking as we were pulling into one Toys R Us or Babies R Us. And I will admit that I ran over one curb and the truck was empty. It was scary. Oh my gosh. It made this terrible. I used to drive a big pickup truck anyway, so I'm used to driving big vehicles.
Right.
But that was the only time. So there were no incidents. There were no scratches. I didn't run into anything. I didn't break anything.
But having the space to put all that stuff in was key. We didn't have to worry about having to keep coming back here to unload. We could take some time to go load the truck. That was actually great.
Right. And as a personal win, like all the girls out there in particular, like you can do it. Like just because it's a big truck and it's like a guy thing,
right.
Like I totally was, and I don't mean any offense to you guys, but that became my thing. And I still have my taco lanyard. Like I still wear it all the time with my keys on it. But that was my thing. And it became more of a thing when I drove it, got used to it. And then when you guys wanted to drive the truck, I said, nope.
She did. All right. So the next one, don't focus on a single item. So often in the reselling land, and we've talked about this before, we get so hung up in one return or one sale or one item's condition or cleaning one item to the nth degree. It's not worth it. Like every second you spend on that item, you're losing your hourly rate. Your VAT is worth less and less every second you spend on that item. So don't get focused on it. It's not really worth it. And look at the big picture and think, I'm going to focus on these 30 items and not spend all this time on these 3.
Mm-hmm. Right. Box it now. We kind of talked about that earlier as well. But we could have just bought all the things. I have to rearrange. I'm not comfortable. We could have bought all the things and just thrown them in the back of the truck in bags, which would have been quicker on the acquisition end. But when we brought it back here, it would have been just
disaster.
A debacle.
And they would have gotten crushed and damaged and everything. And plus, they're completely disorganized.
So while it was a bit of a stretch in the moment, doing it on the front end makes such a difference on the back end, right?
Right.
So our takeaway, hopefully for you guys, is sometimes give it a little bit of extra thought and effort in the beginning, and you'll save yourself some headaches, as we did down the line.
I don't know if we can really get through all these.
Yeah, we can. We can. It's only we got time.
What's plus repurpose?
Oh, so we can use the boxes down the line too.
Oh,
so
yes.
Not only did we use the boxes to transport, but now we've got all these shipping boxes that we can use.
Spend money on boxes or find boxes for free, but get boxes. They work.
Yep.
Hit it repeatedly.
So we went to more than we had to so our flow was just because we went, we started at this store and then went to the other one, we were back at it again because the discounts kept dropping and things kept changing.
Yeah.
Just because we didn't buy this item on Monday doesn't mean we're not going to buy it on Thursday.
We could have driven hundreds of miles further away, but I don't think we would have done any better. It was actually worth going back as the discounts drop. So that's a good tip for if you have sources, just hit them repeatedly until you can't hit them anymore. I mean, you can't hit them every day necessarily, but it's a good tip.
And that lasts for other things as well. I got very laser focused, and I thrived in this environment. Like we were like nonstop. These 12-hour days were amazing. And one of the things that we learned is you could be laser focused and still be kind, not only to each other, but the other shoppers in the store, like
and the employees.
And because
they were losing their jobs.
Yeah, we didn't have to be jerks.
No, and we weren't.
No, and there's never an instance where we as business people, and hopefully those of you that are listening sometime down the line or now, you don't have to be a jerk. You can be a nice person and still get your point across, still get your job done.
Aaron asked, what did our employers learn from me or learn from us? They learned I can make a mean spreadsheet.
That we're awesome. That's what they learned. Like there was a rumor that we were awesome, but we kicked butt. No,
it was just a rumor.
No, like we were put to the test and we triumphed. Like I don't mean to toot, like we never toot our own horns, but we busted our butts, people. And I am so proud of what we did. I really, really am. So that's what they learned, that they can count on us, that we're reliable, that our new catchphrase for part of our business is going to be that we are genuinely committed to their success, Aaron. Like that's what they learned.
And to answer Mark's question, no, books are not on hold. We actually are heading to a book sourcing day tomorrow. And we already did 2 days this week. Yeah. They're actually growing.
We have to get through like this big long list of what we learned, but we're going to do separate videos on all that.
Opportunities everywhere. You need to look.
Look for the opportunities.
There's no shortage of opportunity.
I don't know what that one means. There's a learning curve.
All right. So what about that one?
So some things that you buy in quantity, you're weighing against if it's a fast flip or not, right? So some of the SKUs we picked up with the intent on selling and flipping them quickly, as opposed to maybe a longer tail item that would sell. In particular, someone asked about Q4 earlier on.
Quality control.
So it's no different for eBay than it is for Amazon. Well, it is a little different, but there's still quality control. Pay attention to what you buy. And if you wouldn't buy it for your kid, then don't buy it and put it on your shelf. And there were a lot of items like the box was ripped or the battery was dead or it was missing a special piece. Like pay attention to detail, because with Amazon in particular, if it doesn't look like it came right off the shelf when they get it, guess what? It's coming back. So quality control definitely matters with these items, right?
This next one is we want to work harder so we can play harder.
That was
yours.
I
came up with that one.
You did.
I don't think most of us think we want to work harder so we can work even harder.
Harder.
You're
starting to sound like me.
I know, right? That's not really what it is. Like you put in work and you put in time and energy so that when you play and you do the things in life that you really enjoy and spend the time with the people that you really want to be with, you can do it at a high level. So that's why you work harder. You don't work harder for working hard's sake. You work harder so that when you can get away from it, you can really enjoy it.
So this kind of goes back to what Aaron asked. So we've learned that we've still got it. And what I mean by that is, again, not to toot our own horns, but when was the last time y'all worked 10 days straight of 12-hour plus days and lived to tell about it?
And you're our age.
Oh, yeah. I should put that caveat in.
It was rough, but you know what? I had no trouble sleeping.
No, you didn't. And we thrived. Like, I don't think I felt, and that's a good, like, I want to give that shout out to Papa Bear and Mr. Bling Bling, that I don't think I've felt, and you would say the same, that good about a job that well done in a long time. Like we feel good about, being self-employed and having our own business and doing the things that we do. But that effort, that concerted effort was just amazing. And it filled our souls. Like our spirits were totally revitalized. Like our bodies were exhausted. But we felt good about the experience.
Yep, we did
we not?
Yep.
You can do that one. I always like to talk about that.
Time is still finite. The value of your time is important. It's not just the dollars you make. It's, is it worth it for the time you put in? And we tend to forget that at times. I forgot it at times, but don't forget that your time is finite. So how are you going to spend it? So do it doing things that you work hard at it so that you can play hard, just like we said.
Right. And there's only so many hours in the day, so you better manage them pretty good. I can do that next one, but you can elaborate. So we say this one all the time, choosing to do something ultimately chooses not to do another.
Because we couldn't source books. We couldn't source shoes. We couldn't even hardly sell what we had during this time. So we had to make the choice to go all in during these 2 weeks.
Well, and I believe when we first signed up for this gig, that those were our exact words. Like, and he was like, "Are you sure you can? Because I need you. Like, I need you nonstop for at least 10 days." And our response was, when we decided to commit, was that we're all in. It's like all in or not in at all.
Yeah, like there was no way to just sort of halfway do this. Like you had to be 110%. If we can only get over this next hump, then everything will get back to normal. And we just talked about this today. Like there is no normal.
Like newsflash.
Like we got over like all that stuff. Great, we got all that stuff in the warehouse. We made it through the 10 days. Well, now we have to ship it.
Right.
So, and that is going to be a Herculean task in its own right.
And we found that we've set up these patterns for ourselves. Like, how many times have you said, well, if only, school's going to be over on Tuesday. If I can just get myself and my kids through Tuesday, I'll be fine. And then I'll have time to breathe. No, you won't.
No, you won't.
Like there's always
Something
something.
else will come.
So another part of our sort of changed, evolving mindset here is not only the abundance mindset, but that we've got to stop setting our sights for whatever getting over that next hurdle is, because life is full of them, right? I think that chaos is the norm. So instead of, we'll take a time to breathe here. Like we're taking breaths along the way. Like we're making the most of everything in the moment and not sort of gauging our success or failure by getting over or getting through whatever that next goal or strategy is, right? That was you. Yep.
Oh, we can learn something from everyone and everything, even if you learn you don't like doing it that way. But we learned that we found a lot of value. We found a lot of value in our clients' mindset, in their approach to this business, their experience. And I told Kaaren, I said, we don't know what we're going to learn from this exactly. Like we're just going to have to be an open book to be written in and a sponge and just sop it all up. And we did. And we learned lots. We learned things we would like doing, things we wouldn't like doing, approaches that made sense, others that didn't. So you can learn something from everyone and everything.
Well, and we've been really open. Like we're not teenagers, right? We're at a time in our life where we're looking at, the next 10, 20 years of, retiring or move. Like, my son is going to graduate from high school and we're going to have some freedom that we didn't have. So, what do we want to do? What do we want to be when we grow up, right? So we've really been
not a Toys R Us kid.
I don't even want to say I'll always be a Toys R Us kid. So I don't want to say that we're coming to terms with. I don't think that's a good way to put it. But we're realizing, we're realizing what our calling is, right?
Right.
That reaching our dreams and figuring out whatever our life is to figure out, it takes time. And we're really giving ourselves some, some slack on that. Like we're not, I don't really know how to word that. But if you are 20 years younger than we are, just know, or even if you are our age, whatever, or 20 years older, like whatever it is, none of it is going to happen overnight. We've gotten so used to this instant gratification overnight kind of vibe. And success just doesn't happen that way for 99.99% of the population, right?
Right.
So sometimes it takes a very long time to get there, and that's okay. And we're okay with that. Like the journey is what makes it, man, not the end of it. So we're finding great pleasure in the getting there part. Does that make sense?
That is a part. And the last thing we want to share with you guys, and this is maybe the biggest takeaway I think maybe I had from this in a lot of ways, is that be ready to pivot. Opportunities come and you've got to be ready to answer the call when they do. And not every opportunity is going to be right. And some of them you're not going to know how it's going to turn out. You're not going to know what you're going to learn or what's going to happen. But be ready to pivot, guys, because the one thing I have learned in this business is that it constantly changes. And having connections with people that you can network with, that you can talk to, that can understand where you're coming from, you understand where they're coming from, and you can learn from, that is so important in this business. And those opportunities will open up to you. Doors will be open you never even dreamed of, and you just have to walk through them.
That was awesome. That was really, really good. So we're going to go over some numbers. But
Numbers.
while we do, if you have some questions or if you asked them earlier, just put it all in caps, the word question or question mark, question mark, question mark, and we will address them after we do the numbers. Yeah?
Yeah. So numbers. How far did we drive, Kaaren?
Over 1,500 miles.
In about 10 days. Yeah, it was about that. So 150 miles a day. That's a pretty good rip. Not crazy, but
I think it was actually more than that, but
yeah, it might have been a little more than that. The spend was $70,000, right? At 70 grand.
And that was just our team. Like we said, there were on our mega team, there were what, 4 more teams?
Yeah.
So a lot of money was spent, but our total was about $70,000. We added up that how many man hours did we spend with the 3 of us over that 10-day
Probably about
period?
450.
Easy. Can you imagine sourcing or shopping for 450 hours? Or 150 hours, I guess, would be each person's take on that.
That's like full time, like 11 weeks of just shopping full time.
Yeah, like I like the acquisition part, but when we were going over these numbers, I was like, holy moly, that's a lot.
That was a lot, and I didn't even realize it till we added up today. How many items did we buy? 9,000 items.
Over 9,000 items.
Over 9,000 items that we personally bought just on this team.
Oh, and that would include over 300 SKUs or separate items that will be listed, right? So 9,000 items, 300 different types of items.
There were some, and these were not all small items. There were things that we could get 50 of in a shopping cart. There were things you can only get 10 of in a shopping cart. It just depended on the item. But I can tell you right now, after personally seeing and, touching 9,000 items and dealing with those, that's a lot. Even if I told most of you, some of you guys are clothing sellers, if I said, hey, here's 9,000 items for you to process, I doubt anybody in this chat or most of the people watching this channel have a 9,000 item death pile. Although some of you might be close and you need to work on that. But 9,000 items is a tremendous amount of items. And I couldn't believe it was that many after we got done. And it felt like more than that.
Well, we spent how much did we spend? We spent $26,000 at one store. One store we spent $26,000, which was insane.
Yeah,
and did I use a credit card on that one, or did he?
Yeah, Kaaren was our purchaser. She handled the credit card purchases and
acquisition specialist.
And we spent so many at a lot of these stores, and there were so many items in these transactions that they had to break it up into multiple transactions because their register would just collapse and give up and quit ringing. Their computer system would go down. Yeah,
we had, I think our world record, and it's probably not a world record because I don't want to brag, because some other people were doing this and probably had longer, but I think our longest receipt was over 400 light items, and it was like 16 feet long.
It was about 16 feet long.
Yeah, I have a picture of it. And in fact, I have a picture of it in the store where a couple of the employees, they just got a kick out of it. We had the best, that was part of the best time, right? We met some amazing people.
Yeah, the employees were actually a pretty happy crew overall.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So now we can address questions. Everybody wants you to spot them 70K.
Yeah, and Sadie wants me to get him staked in the World Series of Poker, but I don't know, Sadie. I haven't seen you play, so I don't know if that 60-40 split's going to work. It might have to be a little more steep than that. I'm sorry.
Ooh, Mark has a great question because we didn't really cover that.
Will you be hiring staff to get the inventory to Amazon? The plan to do that is actually no. But
what?
She's like, wait, what? we may bring in some help, but honestly, guys, this is where Amazon is so fundamentally different than eBay. Mm-hmm. Because the time to prep and ship those items to go into Amazon, it's massive. Don't get me wrong. It will take a lot of time. But when you can scan one item and say, well, I've got 200 of these, and then it's going to divvy them up to the different centers, fulfillment centers, and so on. You're going to have to put them in different boxes. But that's it. You're case packing them. You're not spending all this time printing out, 200 separate labels. You're printing out, maybe 5 labels for 5 different boxes. It does take a lot of time, but not nearly the time you would think for that many items. So we're kind of going to see how it goes. It's obviously going to be tough at first because there's just a lot of items back there. Having space to do things is at a premium. We really don't have a lot of space to process these items and prep them and get them ready. But we're gonna do our best.
Everybody have a drink of water. Drink more water.
Jen says, I live in Charlotte. I'd love to meet you guys. I've been following you for a while. You should join our Facebook Carolina Resellers Meetup group, Jen.
Yeah, look that up, and you can send us a note. It's easy to get us on Facebook Messenger, or just send one of us an email, and that would be grand.
Sadie says, I'm assuming you're getting compensated for sourcing and processing this stuff and got some items for yourself along the way. If you don't mind me asking, just curious. Good questions.
We did not buy anything for ourselves along the way. We just did not have
Not
time.
even one item.
We only you had one day where you kind of wanted to source books, but you didn't. Remember?
I did some.
So we just now got back to sourcing for ourselves. So no, we didn't get anything for ourselves. You can answer the rest of that.
Yeah, that was a fail. In terms of getting compensated for the sourcing and processing, we did. I'm not going to share all the numbers on that because I don't think that's really up to me to share. But we absolutely are getting, we got compensated for the sourcing. We are getting compensated for the prepping and shipping to Amazon. And it's a deal that we feel, both parties felt was fair and made sense for us. And, in the big scheme of things, doing this much prepping and shipping is going to be new to us. We've obviously been doing books, but not on the scale. I don't think it's really fundamentally any different. I think it's just more of it. At the same time. So these items will get prepped and shipped over the next space of time. I honestly don't know the answer to that because it's not up to me. That's up to our client when they ship it and so on. So they're giving us direction on that.
But yeah, it would be safe to say we're not doing it for free.
Adam, thanks for the super chat. Just think you'll be in Vegas in 16 days. That's right.
So we're going to go see a show or something.
It'll actually be less than 16 days for us. We get there a little bit earlier.
Yeah, we're getting in there on Saturday. Which we are going to the eBay Open, and we'll talk about that probably more in another video. But yes, we finally bought our plane tickets on Sunday.
Mark says, what is your time frame to get them to Amazon? How long are you giving yourself to process and ship? That's a great question. Obviously, the client decides what, but then we have to figure out the how and so on. And I'm not going to lie, getting through those boxes, we didn't write what was on every box, and pulling some of these SKUs at first is going to suck, to put it mildly, because we don't know where they all are. We're going to have to go through some of them. It's not going to be super easy, but we're going to catalog as we go. And then as we pull more and more items, it'll become easier and easier to find, I think.
Right.
Did you use a credit debit card that offers cash back?
That's a great question. You have no idea what a great question that is.
Oh, yes.
Well, we should it's kind of like an inside joke of sorts.
Yes, it is. But yes, credit cards were used to purchase all of it, I'm pretty sure. And as far as the cashback deals, my understanding is there are cashback deals. I don't know all the details of those, but yes, there was some massive cashback, I would assume at this point with that kind of spend. So, sorry, 70K on the pokies. Oh, on the poker. Yeah. So what else is here?
Oh, look. Hey, Turtle.
Hey, Turtle. I almost missed that. Yeah. Turtle Trader back in the chat. Been a while, my friend. Happy for both of you on your new adventure. Prof Sales and Kaaren, hit your wagon to a star. Hope to hear from you soon.
Oh, yeah, we'll have to have a visit soon.
It's good to spread out your eggs in many baskets, Gretchen says. I agree, Gretchen. And like we said, we're actually ramping up the book part. We're getting better and better at the book sourcing, better and better at the book shipping. It's not been as long of a learning curve as I thought it would be, or as difficult a one. And we're having a lot of fun doing it. Like, sourcing books is just a whole nother animal.
Well, and we have some major updates on that as well, but we weren't able to cram all of the things into this video. That one is pretty big. The fact that the warehouse is now overflowing. It's not going to stay that way. We're actually going to start shipping out like Monday. So
we've actually had to ship the books in another area because there's nowhere back there to do it. Like we could do it, but it's a little tight. Mm-hmm. So we actually were doing that in a different area. So question from Myrtle Beach from Chelsea. I've considered FBA as well, but I was going to manufacture goods through Alibaba. Do you guys have any opinions on that? I am not an Alibaba expert. I guess you're saying you're going to buy manufactured goods from them, or maybe you're going to do private label. I'm not sure what your question was specifically on that, Chelsea, but
are you going to buy in bulk from them, or are you going to private label it? Be more specific.
The trick with any sort of sourcing you do overseas, like through Alibaba, is that you need to make sure that your quality control is there, that you're dealing with a reputable manufacturer. They can meet the demand that you anticipate, and just basically do what they say they're going to do. Because if they can't do those things, then they're not really any use to you as a source. And then you're going to constantly be out of supply. You're going to have disgruntled customers and so on. So I would definitely do your research on any source you get overseas through a site like Alibaba and so on. Yeah, not saying there aren't some good ones, because there are.
Right. And Chelsea said that she's thinking about buying in bulk. There are plenty of companies here in the States that you can just do your research. You can buy bulk from here. And it goes like anything that you would sell. Make sure somebody wants to buy it.
Yeah. And like one of the things we did, we had
I didn't mean that snarky, by the way.
No, we had Paul on the channel, Paul Lipsky.
Right. Oh, yeah.
A few weeks ago, talking about his dropshipping business that he has. And, he kind of took the sourcing part of that off the table because he's using reputable big retailers here in the States, for the most part, to help him source items to dropship onto eBay. So that took sort of he's letting them do the legwork for finding the source. So if you're interested in that, there's more info in the description of this video. You can check that out. That course and so on is pretty cool. But he's got a pretty good setup there for doing that. But that's kind of a little bit different than what you're talking about with bulk, but some similarities. Say says, when opportunity knocks, you better answer.
Yeah, and we did, in a big way, with a big smile, and we were able to pivot. And it's actually opening the doors and laying the foundation for some other changes for us that are upcoming. Like,
yes.
Can I just say, like, sort of a restructure, if you will. Yeah. Like, we've got some pretty cool changes and plans on the horizon for us. So
Mark says, a little confused. Are you selling these items on Mr. Bling's account? And are you just being a prep service for Mr. Bling, or are you getting money when the item sells? We are not getting money when the item sells.
Oh, no, these are not consignment items. We still do consignment, but right now the bulk of our space is dedicated to prep and ship.
Yeah, this is more prepping and shipping. And like we said, also we were compensated on the front end for the sourcing help. So, it wouldn't really make sense to do it on a commission basis, I don't think. That would be kind of complex to keep track of. And it sort of made sense to, as I've been saying, it's kind of cool to sell the pickaxes to the gold miners instead of always looking for just the gold.
Right.
So.
And that's been our goal and our focus. And this is allowing us to realize that. So.
Yeah. And, what was I going to say?
I don't know.
I was wondering the same thing. Connie was asking the same question. Yeah, we very clear there. I mean, this is not a consignment deal. Definitely not.
No, basically, because some people joined later and are just now catching up with the fact that it's other people's money. So we had this unlimited supply of money from someone else.
Unlimited.
Well, at the time it was, and we helped spend what was a lot more, but we spent $70,000 for this Amazon sellers conglomerate, for what these people that sell on Amazon that are bigger than us. We spent their money, helped them shop. And I drove a truck. That's a completely separate issue. Yeah. So that stuff now has to get processed, and it costs money to send it back to where they live, right? So
Right.
instead of doing that, it lives here for a short period of time. We're going to prep and ship it for these FBA, fulfilled by Amazon people,
Yeah.
right?
And one thing I want to point out, because I think Aaron maybe talked about it earlier in the chat, and I meant to reply to it. We're not in competition with our client. First of all, they're not a bookseller, and we had no intention of like sourcing the items that they were buying. And we certainly, because they were doing it in such scale, they could afford a profit margin that made more sense for a scale purchase than, say, if we were going out and getting ones and twos and threes and fours and fives. Because it just wouldn't have made sense to sink that much capital into it. And we certainly don't have the knowledge to do it either. So one of the things, anybody that we did prep and ship for, we want to make very clear we're not in competition with them. I mean, books is like such a huge category. I don't think anybody's really in competition with anybody unless you're a massive bookseller on Amazon and you're selling like to make pennies on the book, like some of the biggies on there. But
and books are kind of just a bunch of one-offs, really.
They are. I mean, you're not going to buy books for the most part, like in quantity, like the same SKU.
But you touched on something that kind of speaks to what I got out of this whole week. Even if we were selling the same things on Amazon, we wouldn't be in competition.
Right.
Like, this was such an eye-opening, different experience.
Right.
And I kind of touched in the beginning on the fact that we felt like we were really part of something special. And again, I'm not trying to turn this business thing into some, kumbaya moment, but there was a stark difference between the group of people that we interacted with over this 2-week period than maybe what y'all are used to. And we made a message group, and there were other people not directly on this seller's team that were sharing bolos, were making suggestions, were finding SKUs that were profitable, were asking questions, were bouncing ideas, and there was nothing competitive. There was nothing. It was all this sort of free information place. Now, they're all friends. But they're all like, I felt like I was part of this movement to like build and support other people. Like,
I
did
too. It was such an abundance mindset.
It really, really was.
Like, there's enough for everyone.
How many teams were there? Probably 5, 6, 7, 8. So maybe 10 different groups of people. Not all of which were on this FBA sellers, for lack of better, payroll. But America is a big country. There are Toys R Us's, or there were Toys R Us's and Babies R Us's all over the country. So it was like this understanding, and I can't even say that we verbally agreed upon, well, this will be my territory and this will be yours, because some of them were going to the same stores that others were going to.
Right.
People, if a SKU sells, if an item sells on Amazon, you can buy it too, and everybody's okay with it. And that was one of the coolest things about it, right? Like, everybody's making money here and everybody's happy that you are and they are. And that was one of the coolest things. Like, I felt part of this. Like, I was a student, I was a fly on the wall, but I was a contributing, constructive, productive member of this movement. I mean, capitalism, right? It was, is that a bad word to say?
No, it's not a bad word.
But I was part of this, and I really felt like I don't know, I felt good about it. Like, I was learning. I was also helping, like, I even chimed in with some suggestions for other people. And it was just really, I don't know, it was just the whole thing, other than the, long days and being tired, like even that part, it was all good. Like, we either learned or like I can't say anything was bad. We made some mistakes, but we'll have to talk about those in another video.
Yeah, it was definitely eye-opening to see things when they're done on a scale that honestly most eBayers are not going to achieve, or it's not very achievable because of the way the platform's set up. And that was very interesting to me, because it got me more in that abundance mindset and realized, you can build a business to take care of any and all necessary expenses and requirements you have in your life and things you want to do. You can build that if you want. You just got to find the right way to do it. And that's not to say Amazon is always the right way or eBay is the right way, but there definitely are people out there who realize that you can build something as large as you want to build it, as large as you need it to be, if you apply yourself and you're willing to learn and you're willing to be humble, you're willing to share, you're willing to receive. And that's what that chat thread sort of taught me, because I was seeing people talking about things that, quite frankly, were good for them, but also good for everybody else reading that chat. That was a little refreshing, to say the least, because I'm not sure we always do that in the reseller community. Sometimes we're very secretive. I know, as being people who come on YouTube a lot, we get the critique, you're screwing it up for everybody. You're giving away all the secrets. And I'm like, man, there's no secrets. There really aren't. There's no secrets. There's just things that people know. And some people happen to say it to 1,000 people who watch a show, or some people say it to their friend next door. It doesn't matter. There's no secrets. But we were honored to be a part of this and had a tremendously good time doing it. Obviously, it's going to be very profitable for us, which we're excited about that. That's always a good thing. It's going to be very profitable for everyone. Nobody loses in this. The only people who kind of lost is Toys R Us and the employees, unfortunately.
But
they'll go elsewhere.
The liquidators made some bank. Let's just be honest.
They made.
And hey, we got free shirts. So on that whole community kind of thing, this was the neatest thing. So everybody was picking up memorabilia and stuff. Our guy, in addition to buying Freddie a shopping cart and some other things that have the Toys R Us logo, we got shirts.
There you go. Oh, mine's.
Yeah, well, they're both the same shirt. But one of the other teams gave us shirts, which I thought was the coolest thing. For future babies, look at this. How cute is this? And this item was actually selling on eBay for a lot more than we paid for it. But look, a Jeffrey bib for the grandchildren or children someday that will be, right? So I don't even know where I was going with that, but there you go.
Yeah, so people are having some great comments here in the chat too. I'm not going to shout them all out, but man, you guys are killing it. Most people, Duncan kind of nailed it right on the head. Most people watch the show but never take action on the information. That's kind of true. Most people read good advice, or they get exposed to somebody who is telling them something that will help them, and they don't act on it. And I've been guilty of that. I think we all have. That's kind of human nature.
So our what's the when you redo you restructure, so our restructure is going to be with this channel, because we've been talking about that a lot. We're going to come on here as often as we can, but our commitment to you is that we're going to come on when we have something good to say, something that's going to make you
unlike
better.
Before, when we
no, because here's the thing, we're not going to be able to commit to a Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 2 p.m. every day schedule, right? It's just not realistic for us, because we're about to have to hit it really hard, getting all this stuff out the door. But when we can, we're still going to share that with you guys. But we want it to matter. We're committed. We are still teachers at heart. We're still committed to making you better. But again, you're not going to get free fish from this channel. We're going to teach you how to fish. And we're going to give you just enough to get out there and be dangerous, right? So, that makes sense, right? So come here and we'll give you the best of us that we can give. We're going to share with you our successes, and we've even got some failures that we're going to share with you, because that's all part of it. I think, one of the next videos that we're going to do is going to talk about, I made a really big mistake with book sourcing, and we don't even have enough time.
Oh, if anybody's a book sourcer in the chat, you might be able to figure out what mistake she made, just because there's one that you would know would be a big one.
For me, in the moment, it was catastrophic. I went from being way up here thinking I'd kick some major book butt to oh my God, how did I not see that?
But you also found probably your most profitable book, maybe the most profitable book we're ever going to have so far.
I'm still winning. But so we are gonna talk about that. But we still want to share all of those moments. Just have some patience with us, because we've got work to do. And like you guys, we're now full time. Well, maybe not like all y'all, but we're full time. If we don't process and ship this stuff, we can't pay our rent. It's not something that we do in our spare time. So there'll be times when we're not here, but every chance we get, maybe we'll have to start doing some more pre-recorded stuff. but we will be here. You can always send us a note via Facebook Messenger or via the emails.
There you go.
And we will get back with you as soon as we can. But that's just where we're at. We wanted to share with you guys and bring you up to speed on where we've been, where we are, and the amazing places that we're going. Because we can only go up from here, baby, right?
I like it.
I'm so
That's
full
true.
of like Kaaren cliche today. Okay.
Yep. So we're gonna sign off here, guys. But I'm just gonna leave it this thought: live with abundance in your mind and not scarcity. Create abundance, and that will take care of all the scarcity.
Yep. Strive to thrive, beautiful people. As always, this is Just Ask Kaaren.
And PROF Sales
Saying
good sales to you.